At precisely 9:47 a.m., a sleek black Tesla with tinted windows pulled up to the facility's front gate. The guards barely gave it a second glance. This was Washington, a city full of high-profile figures. But as the doors swung open, revealing the unmistakable figure of Elon Musk, their expressions hardened. Musk wasn't on any scheduled visitor list. He wasn't supposed to be here. Security was immediately on high alert as Agent Claire Reynolds, a leading cyber operations specialist, received an urgent call. "Musk is here," the voice on the other end said. "And he says it's about a national security emergency." Claire, a no-nonsense professional with a reputation for solving high-stakes cyber crises, didn't hesitate. She made her way to the entrance, her mind already racing with questions. Musk was a billionaire, an innovator, a disruptor. But he wasn't known for making unscheduled visits to government agencies, especially not one as tightly secured as the Department of National Cybersecurity. As she stepped into the cold morning air, she locked eyes with Musk. Dressed in a dark suit and wearing his usual air of confidence, he removed his sunglasses, revealing a sharp, calculating gaze. "Mr. Musk," Claire said firmly, "this is a restricted facility. What brings you here today?" Musk offered a small, knowing smile. "Agent Reynolds," he said, his voice calm but urgent. "I wouldn't be here unless it was absolutely necessary." "You have a cyber breach, a big one." Claire narrowed her eyes. "We monitor for threats daily. If there was a breach, we would know about it." Musk shook his head. "Not this one. It's sophisticated, unlike anything you've seen before, and if we don't act fast, the entire nation's infrastructure could collapse." Before Claire could respond, her earpiece crackled to life. "Reynolds, we've detected an anomaly in the financial networks. Something's not right." She turned back to Musk, her pulse quickening. "Start talking." Inside the Department of National Cybersecurity, the air was thick with urgency. The lights overhead flickered slightly, a subtle but ominous reminder that something was wrong. Elon Musk sat at the head of the briefing table, his sharp eyes scanning the massive screens lining the walls, each one filled with streams of encrypted data. Across from him, Agent Claire Reynolds leaned forward, her fingers tapping impatiently against the polished surface of the desk. "This breach, explain it to me," Claire demanded, her voice edged with controlled frustration. "What are we dealing with here, and how do you know about it before we do?" Musk exhaled, rubbing his chin as he pulled up a holographic projection from his tablet. "It's not just a breach," he said. "It's a coordinated cyber infiltration by a group known as Black Phantom. They're not just hacking. They're embedding themselves within critical infrastructure, waiting for the right moment to strike." The projection zoomed in on various points across the country: financial hubs, military networks, energy grids. Red dots blinked ominously at key locations, each representing a system that had already been compromised. Claire's blood ran cold. "These are high-level government systems," she said. "Some of them require clearance at the highest level." "Are you telling me they've been inside for years?" Musk nodded grimly. "They've been patient, careful. Every attack vector they use is nearly untraceable. They've infiltrated our power grids, stock exchanges, and military defense systems. But they're not taking action yet. They're waiting." "Waiting for what?" Director Nathan Cole asked from the far end of the room. The seasoned head of the DNC had seen his fair share of national security crises, but even he looked unsettled. Musk's jaw tightened. "For a signal, for a trigger that activates a quantum-based AI virus they've been developing. Once it goes live, it won't just steal data, it will override control of every major system in the country." Silence fell over the room. The gravity of Musk's words hung in the air like a suffocating weight. Claire forced herself to stay calm. "If that's true, we need to move fast. Do we know where the attack is originating from?" Musk swiped across his tablet, pulling up satellite images. "Yes," he said. "We traced irregular data spikes to a hidden facility in Alaska, a decommissioned military research station, supposedly abandoned decades ago." Claire studied the image. A bleak, snow-covered structure tucked into the mountains. It looked unremarkable, but the data told another story. If Black Phantom had set up operations there, they had been planning this for years. Director Cole turned to Musk. "How do we stop this?" Musk leaned forward, his voice low and unwavering. "We have two options," he said. "One, we try to fight them in cyberspace, using firewalls and countermeasures. But that will take too long, and they have technology far beyond what we're used to." Claire clenched her jaw. "And the second option?" Musk's gaze was unwavering. "We take the fight to them. We infiltrate the facility, locate the quantum AI virus, and shut it down manually before they can launch it." Claire took a deep breath. A physical infiltration of a cyber-terrorist stronghold wasn't just risky, it was borderline suicidal. But she knew there was no alternative. If they failed, the entire nation's infrastructure would collapse overnight. Cole turned to her. "Assemble a strike team. You leave in 2 hours." Claire didn't hesitate. "Understood." As the room erupted into movement, agents rushing to prepare logistics and tactical gear, Musk stood and approached Claire. His usual cool demeanor was replaced with something more intense. "You need to understand," Musk said quietly. "They won't just sit back and let you take them down. They'll fight like hell to protect what they've built." Claire smirked slightly, her adrenaline already kicking in. "Then they picked the wrong country to mess with." Musk's lips curled into a small grin. "That's what I like to hear." But as they turned toward the operations center, an emergency alert flashed across every screen. A cyber specialist named Ethan Park sprinted toward them, his face pale. "We've got a problem," Ethan panted. "Black Phantom just activated a secondary protocol. They know we're onto them and they're accelerating their attack." Claire's stomach twisted. "What does that mean?" Musk looked at the screen, his face darkening. "It means we just lost the element of surprise. They're moving faster than we thought. If we don't shut them down in the next 24 hours, we lose everything." The countdown had begun. The abandoned research station loomed over the frozen Alaskan landscape, its steel structure barely visible beneath the layers of ice and snow. Agent Claire Reynolds gripped her rifle tighter, her breath visible in the frigid air. The mission had been too easy so far, too quiet. No alarms, no resistance, just a seemingly empty facility. She glanced at Captain Derek Foster, who signaled the team to move forward. Their objective was simple: locate and disable Black Phantom's central servers before the quantum AI virus launched. Yet something about the silence felt like a warning. Then, the facility's intercom crackled to life. "Welcome, Claire, you're right on time." Claire's blood ran cold. She knew that voice. Lucas Vance. A name she had not heard in 3 years. He had once been a top cyber operative at the DNC, a genius strategist. Until he vanished without a trace. Now it was clear. Vance hadn't disappeared. He had switched sides. Musk's voice cut through the comms. "Claire, you need to get out of there. It's a trap." Before she could respond, steel barriers slammed down around them, locking the team inside. The facility's emergency lights turned blood red, casting eerie shadows along the walls. Massive screens flickered on, displaying live feeds of U.S. government networks, power grids, and financial institutions, all blinking with red warnings. "You always were the best, Claire," Vance's voice purred through the speakers. "That's why I knew you'd come, and now you're exactly where I want you." Claire clenched her jaw. "Vance, what the hell are you doing?" A countdown appeared on the screen. Vance chuckled. "The quantum AI virus isn't just a cyber weapon. It's a revolution. Once this countdown reaches 0, I'll have control over every major system in the world. No more corrupt leaders, no more outdated governance, just absolute order." Claire's grip on her rifle tightened. "You're insane." Gunfire erupted from hidden compartments in the walls as Black Phantom operatives stormed the room. Claire and her team dove for cover, bullets ricocheting off the steel walls. "Musk, we need an exit," Claire shouted as she fired back. "Working on it." Musk's voice was tight. "But you need to stop the countdown manually. The virus is locked into a protected server. You have less than 2 minutes." Claire saw her opening. "Foster, cover me." She sprinted toward the main control terminal, sliding behind cover as bullets whizzed past her. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. The encryption was sophisticated, but not impossible. "Musk, guide me." "Disable the backup power supply first," Musk instructed. "Otherwise the virus will keep running even if you crash the main system." Claire's pulse pounded. Where was the backup power source? Then a shadow moved behind her. She spun just in time as Vance lunged, slamming her against the console. The impact knocked the wind out of her. "Still playing the hero?" Vance sneered, gripping a combat knife. Claire gritted her teeth and drove her elbow into his ribs, forcing him back. She twisted, slamming his wrist against the console, making him drop the knife. Vance staggered, then smirked. "You always were predictable." Claire didn't hesitate. She grabbed the emergency override lever and pulled it down with all her strength. Claire met his gaze. "I don't think—" "I know," Vance smirked. "Then why am I still here?" Before she could react, he grabbed a detonator from his belt and pressed the button. Explosions rocked the facility. The walls trembled, cracks forming along the steel beams. Foster grabbed Claire. "We have to move now!" They ran through the collapsing corridors, dodging falling debris and bursts of fire. Behind them, Vance disappeared into the smoke. As they burst through the emergency exit, a helicopter hovered above, waiting for extraction. The team scrambled aboard just as the entire facility erupted into flames. Musk's voice crackled in. "That was too close." Claire exhaled heavily, watching the burning wreckage fade into the snowy landscape below. Vance was gone. The virus was destroyed. But deep down, Claire knew this wasn't over. Somewhere out there, Vance was still watching, waiting, planning, and next time, he wouldn't let them stop him so easily. The helicopter's rotors sliced through the icy Alaskan night, sending gusts of wind across the snow-covered landscape as Agent Claire Reynolds leaned against the open hatch, catching her breath. Below, the Black Phantom facility burned, flames licking the sky as the last remnants of their stronghold collapsed into the frozen earth. Lucas Vance had escaped. The thought twisted in Claire's gut like a knife. They had stopped the quantum AI virus, but it didn't feel like a victory. Vance had anticipated their every move, and now he was out there, somewhere, waiting for his next opportunity to strike. "This doesn't make sense," Ethan muttered. "We shut down the primary server. The virus should be completely neutralized." Claire frowned. "Should be?" Ethan swiped the screen, pulling up a live feed of the global cyber network. A new anomaly was forming. Musk's voice was tense. "Black Phantom's reach is bigger than we thought. Vance wasn't acting alone." Claire's heart hammered in her chest. "Explain." Musk exhaled sharply. "I just intercepted a heavily encrypted transmission. It wasn't coming from Alaska. It was coming from inside U.S. borders." Claire's blood ran cold. "Where?" Ethan zoomed in on the map. A red pulse blinked over Washington, D.C. "The attack wasn't just about the quantum AI virus," Musk said, his voice deadly serious. "Vance was a distraction. The real target is in the capital." A sudden explosion shook the air behind them. Claire whipped her head around just in time to see a missile streak through the night sky, heading straight for their helicopter. "Evasive maneuvers!" Foster shouted at the pilot. The helicopter lurched violently as the missile narrowly missed, exploding in the distance. Claire grabbed the side rail, her body nearly thrown from the aircraft. "We're under attack!" the pilot yelled. Another missile locked onto their signal, racing toward them. Musk's voice cut through the chaos. "Deploy countermeasures, now!" The pilot flipped a switch and a set of flares ejected from the chopper, drawing the missile away just before it could obliterate them. The shockwave rattled the cabin, sending sparks flying through the control panel. "Where the hell is that coming from?" Claire yelled. Ethan's face paled. "You're not going to like this." He turned his screen toward her. A private military base just outside Washington had activated an advanced missile defense system. Claire's stomach twisted. "That's a U.S. facility." "Exactly." Musk's voice was grim. "Someone high up is covering for Black Phantom." Claire clenched her jaw. "We need to land, now." The helicopter descended rapidly, evading more enemy fire as it made a hard landing in an isolated clearing outside a secure DNC black site. As soon as the skids touched the ground, Claire and Foster jumped out, weapons raised, scanning the perimeter for threats. Musk's voice was urgent. "Get inside, now. We need to figure out what we're dealing with before it's too late." The team rushed into the dimly lit facility where Agent Black, a former Black Phantom operative who had defected, was waiting. His sharp eyes flickered with urgency as he gestured for them to follow. "I have intel," Black said, locking the doors behind them. Vance was never the true leader of Black Phantom. He was just the face. The real power? It's bigger than you can imagine. He placed a small device on the table and a holographic map illuminated the room. Multiple red dots flashed across the world. London, Moscow, Beijing, Dubai, New York. Musk's voice was tense. "This isn't just one attack. This is a coordinated global event." Black nodded. "Exactly. And the worst part? The quantum AI virus wasn't the only weapon they had. Vance was one piece of a much bigger puzzle." Claire felt a chill creep down her spine. "Then what's the next move?" Black's gaze locked with hers. "We find out who's pulling the strings, and we take them down before they can finish what they started." The room fell silent. Outside, the night was still. But inside, they all knew. The real battle had just begun. The cold night air crackled with tension as Agent Claire Reynolds and her team gathered inside a covert DNC war room deep beneath Washington, D.C. The walls were lined with monitors streaming live feeds from intelligence satellites, military networks, and cyber surveillance systems. Time was running out. Elon Musk stood at the center, his hands resting on a glowing interface displaying a real-time global cyber threat map. The red indicators were spreading. Fast. "Vance was never the real mastermind," Musk said, his voice low but urgent. "We've traced the real operation to an underground facility outside Geneva. That's where they're controlling everything." Claire's heart pounded. Geneva, a city known for diplomacy, finance, and hidden power struggles. If their intel was correct, this wasn't just cyber warfare anymore. This was a deliberate attempt to collapse world economies and governments. "We can't wait," Claire said, turning to her strike team. "We take the fight to them, tonight." Hours later, a Black Ops strike team parachuted under the cover of night toward a remote compound in the Swiss Alps. Claire, Foster, Musk, and Black were among them. The compound was heavily fortified with automated defenses and armed mercenaries patrolling the perimeter. But they weren't expecting a direct assault. Claire landed silently in the snow, raising her rifle as her team advanced through the shadows. "We breach in 60 seconds, Musk whispered through the comms. "Once I override their security grid, you'll only have a small window before their AI defenses kick in." The moment the power flickered, Claire and Foster rushed forward, taking out guards in rapid succession. Black led the second team through the lower levels, planting EMP charges to disable the servers. Inside the main chamber, Vance was waiting. "Impressive," he smirked, standing before the quantum core, a powerful AI-driven supercomputer. "But you're too late." Musk's voice crackled in. "Claire, you need to shut it down before it transmits the final command." Claire rushed forward, engaging Vance in a brutal hand-to-hand fight, while Musk hacked into the system remotely. The entire facility shook as Black detonated the EMPs. With a final strike to Vance's jaw, Claire sent him crashing to the floor. She didn't hesitate. She grabbed her weapon and fired at the main processor, sending sparks flying. The quantum core flickered. Then, darkness. The global threat map on Musk's screen went from red to black. The attack had been stopped. As they emerged from the facility, the first hints of sunrise broke over the Alps. Claire turned to Musk. "We won today, but this war isn't over." Musk nodded. "No, but we proved that even in a digital age, people, not machines, determine the future." Claire exhaled. For now, the world was safe. This story isn't just fiction. It reflects real concerns about cybersecurity, technology, and control in the modern world. Who truly holds power? How do we protect ourselves from digital threats? Now it's your turn. What do you think? Do you believe AI could be used for global control? How should governments and private sectors work together to prevent cyber warfare? Would you trust someone like Musk in a crisis like this? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's talk about the future. The morning air was crisp over Washington, D.C. as the sun cast golden light on the towering glass and steel structures of the Department of National Cybersecurity headquarters. Inside the high-security building, top agents worked tirelessly to safeguard the nation's digital infrastructure. Yet, despite their vigilance, no one anticipated the arrival of an unexpected guest, one who had the power to change the course of history.